Okay, we are live. Good afternoon to everybody watching. We have with us today Tuhin Mishra, who's MD and co-founder for Waistline Ventures. Welcome, Tuhin, to the show, SK Live.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me over, Taruka. It's a pleasure.
Anytime. On a Sunday. Well, that's great. So,
I guess
Tuhin, of course,
during this lock time or lockdown, every day is the same day, so it doesn't matter much.
that's true. Absolutely true. So, Tuhin, I'm going to start with the obvious question, because we've all are in the same boat right now. So, what has been the COVID impact on your organization, and how are you tackling all the challenges associated?
Actually, so what had happened was when the lockdown happened. Uh, so obviously it took all of us by surprise, and we all were thinking that what's going to happen. So the first 1 week was just to kind of digest the whole the new environment and to kind of fathom what should be our the step ahead or the new strategy that we have to bring in place. And so what happened was, say, April onwards, we started kind of thinking of various ways to kind of keep ourselves busy and busy at two levels, professionally within the company as well, and also the kind of work that we do, because we manage, I think, a good roster of athletes as well. And then there are sponsorship deals which were there in the pipeline, and there were some obviously you have to service which are ongoing deals. And so that's how slowly and steadily we started putting things together, and things, I would say, with all humility, things started falling in place, and we were able to, I would say, tide over the tough times. I'm not saying that it's those times are still over, but I would say the last 2-3 months we've seen things changing a lot and changing for the better.
Also, because we've seen some of the fans were allowed in the UK, but of course, unfortunately, again, the entire country went into the lockdown, and we've had ISL Suns fans. So, do you think even we should be allowing some fans in the stadium?
Again, it's a very tricky subject because as we all saw during IPL as well, when it was happening in UAE, there were few people kind of sparsely distributed all over the stadium, but they were more from the, I would say, the support staff and some of the officials of every franchises who were sitting there, or some close members of those franchises. Um, Again, if we are having things in India, we all don't know how things are going to pan out. At the end of the day, fans are such that they are at one level they might be demanding, but they're also very understanding. So we all understand that if a sport is still getting played, being broadcast, I would say they will still be satisfied. They just want to see a proper game happening, and they want to support their team. And this is a scenario which no one can complain that, oh, I'm not able to go to the stadium and I'm not able to cheer for my team. I mean, if you are actually a believer in your team, you'll cheer from any place, sitting in your home.
Of course, and you mentioned about the impressive roster you have of all the athletes. So I'm sure you must have been talking to all of them. What has been their mindset, not being able to play and not even being able to train? So, what has been your conversation with all the athletes you are managing?
See, every athlete, again, we have athletes of different sports whom we manage, and I would say almost 13, 14 different sports whom we manage. And again, every athlete is at a different level in their journey as well. And yes, we have tried a level best to be in constant touch with most of them, or I would say all of them. Again, a lot of times athletes also have their own insecurities as well, because right, every athlete has their own shelf life. So when almost a year is being taken away from that shelf life, it can become a little panicky, or it can be little, it's also very sensitive, because it's not only performance based but also monetary aspects which is getting affected. And so we've been trying our level best to kind of speak to them on a daily basis or weekly basis, and obviously discuss various plans, trying to see how well we can help monetize their brand values even during these times. And again, that would mean doing a lot of digital stuff or at a digital platform. And we have managed to kind of do things with most of our athletes.
Tell us about these digital initiatives you've taken amidst the lockdown.
So what we had done was, and again, it was very coincidental because just before the lockdown actually started, this was the month of January, if I'm not mistaken, we were thinking as a company that we wanted to venture into creating content as well. And the discussion was going on around Jan, Feb, and suddenly this whole lockdown kind of came upon all of us. And I would say, in a way, it was a blessing in disguise because it made us think a little more out of box. And the whole plan that we had, that from next month we would start, we had actually had to push it uh, much earlier. And we rolled out our first digital content, which was called Double Trouble with Smriti and Jemmy, with Smriti Mandana and Jemima Rodriguez, the two women cricketers. And the whole idea was because we were discussing something with Smriti, and it kind of she kind of jumped out at the whole proposition that we had. And that's when post that we spoke with Jamie as well, Jemima, and she also readily agreed. And that's how we created this whole show, where the whole idea was that we'll have for the first time ever two active, how do I say, women cricketers who would, in their own way, and there's a certain amount of novelty attached to it, that they would be speaking with their fellow sports people and sports people across different sports, not just cricketers, but again, we had shooters, we had people from other sports as well, squash, and where they were kind of talking about various topics which all of them kind of relate to, and there was a certain amount of respect also that the other person also has, right? Because at, for the first time, the host was also someone who's playing the sport at an active level and is playing at the highest possible level. So a lot of topics which were being discussed, which normally in a regular, say a press interview or something, or a, with all due respect, if a journalist is asking, probably might not be able to broach certain topics, which those topics which were discussed in these shows. And it was obviously a fun show. So that was the first show, which was called Double Trouble with Smriti and Jemmy. Uh, we actually had decent success in terms of our viewership and across YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook. Then we launched a second show, which was called Finish Line with Saurabh Ghoshal. Again, a very interesting concept because Saurabh is a top athlete, one of the topmost athletes of our country. He's a number one squash player, and again, a world ranking which is close to hovers between 12 and 13 in the world. So again, Saurabh was speaking to fellow sports people who've again achieved success at the highest level. So he was speaking to someone like a Pranathan Anand or Abhinav Bindra or Leander Pace, and again getting into their mind, into their psyche, and how do they kind of, the whole success story is not just kind of participating, right, but it's actually crossing the finish line. And how do you cross that finish line? So that sort of actually picked up certain moments in everyone's life, that when they were going to that finish line, what was going in their mind and how they managed to cross the line and obviously come out victorious. So that was again an interesting series that we did. And the last one was that we did was with PV Sindhu, which was called the A Game. It was again a concept which was based on that when she was talking to her again fellow sports people, which was someone like Sakshi Malik, or when she was speaking with Pankaj Advani, that when they are playing the biggest match of their life or the biggest tournament, how do they bring their A game into the tournament, or in that scenario when they are participating on that particular day. So again, a very interesting concept, and again we saw decent success with that as well. So that is something which is going to go forward in our scheme of things as well.
All sounded pretty interesting. Me being a former athlete, I can well imagine what sort of questions and camaraderie, these players among themselves have, and to bring it live in front of people because so many people want to know about them. It's pretty great. Also, talking about, of course, you interact with a lot of brands, and I know everybody is going through a tough time. So, what has been your conversation with the brands? Especially because a lot of them also sponsor athletes. So, what has been their take? How are they responding to the pandemic, and especially at the time when there's no sports happening?
It's a good question, Taruka, because what happened was when again, like us, which I explained earlier, it took all of us by surprise. None of us were prepared for this. So obviously, the brands were also not prepared for what happened. And but over a period of time, every brand has also reacted differently. Some brands came back and they said was, can we get some extension of the deal? Some brands also tried to renegotiate. Some brands were still going ahead with their normal activity. But the fact of the matter is, every brand, and I have to give credit to every brand that or every firm that we work with, they were all supportive of the athletes. None of them said that, oh, we want to cancel an agreement or something of that sort. Uh, and the athletes also understand, or they also understood, if this is a situation which is very unique. So if there was an extension of a month or a couple of months here and there, or some payments were getting delayed, because obviously the clients at their end were also suffering and going through this whole mess that we all have been experiencing in our lives.
Of
So
course.
they were also very amenable to the whole idea of working things along with the brand. And that is what a true relationship is, right? I mean, you are there, or ideally you should be there in good times and bad times. So obviously these are the bad times, and I would say both from a brand perspective and the athlete's perspective, they were very, very supportive of each other.
So I know Baseline Ventures has also expanded their business side into more commercial side for the other, to get sponsorship. So do you think all these negotiations dynamics are going to improve in future, or do you think this is for now? Everybody has to innovate. Everybody has to think out of the box to make things going.
See, out of the box thinking is also very cliche in that sense, because a lot of times it's more in terms of how we can adapt things. So it is more of adapting than actually everything doesn't need to be out of box. Yes, there are few things that you have to do out of box, but a lot of times it is adaptability to the situation, and that's what sponsorship is also happening. So we were involved with several deals during IPL. We've been involved with during ISL as well, where we're responsible for dealing with the football club, where we got sponsors. Again, for athletes as well, we've been getting sponsorship deals for them. Again, it's a function of which brands are active at this point in time. So reaching out to such brands, collaborating with them, not looking at the regular way of probably doing deals as well. So because physical presence might not be practical at this point in time, especially during the months of July, August, or even earlier. Now things are changing a bit, where a bit of physical presence is also happening, where the athletes can come, the shoots can happen. So there are shoots which are happening now, which is a positive sign. But yes, in the last 5 6 months, a lot of things were happening on the digital space, and we had to kind of adapt to that. So, and the clients were also very receptive to that. So, a lot of webinars were happening, a lot of meet and greets were happening, which were all virtual. But then it was doing the job. So,
Great.
so no complaints on that front.
Cool. Tuhin, I have a very interesting question from Kartik Doshi. He is asking, are you looking forward to have more sports person from lesser popular sports such as breaking, climbing, because they've now been included in Olympics? Are you planning to expand your roster with, more
Yeah,
players from a very niche sports?
yeah. So, Karthik, we are always, as a firm also, when we started way back in 2014, one of our first two signings were Sindhu and Kidambi Shrikant, which was badminton. And at that point in time, both of them were relatively lesser known stars or lesser known athletes compared to the regular ones, which is especially when people start, they always try to focus on cricket. Uh, so for us, we've always believed right from day one that India has to, if we are going to be calling ourselves a sporting nation, it has to be a multi-sport kind of culture that we all have to believe in. And so that kind of started from the way we also started, that we took up badminton. Obviously cricket, we have cricketers, both males and females, but then we also have other sports, whether it is archery or squash or shooting or boxing. So if you look at swimming, so the roster of athletes that we have on our stable, we do believe in that we need to go and try out and do things for other sports as well. And that's what our humble effort always has been till now. So yes, to answer your question, we do see ourselves expanding and looking at other sports as well, and why not? Yes, as long as those sports people are capable of also doing something at a world level, because at the end of the day, it has to be marketable as well. It doesn't mean that someone is just has taken up a sport, and even if it's an Olympic sport, but we are not going to do anything. Why would a sponsor also come on board? I mean, let's also be honest. And I'm just calling a spade a spade. Just because someone is just taken up a sport and that sport is an Olympic sport, but if you're at a world level, you're not doing anything. And I'm not saying every time you have to win a gold medal or a silver medal or a bronze medal, but if you're not performing at a certain level, then it does become very difficult to market with potential sponsors.
Absolutely, I agree on you on that. Also, we have a lot of fans of Prithvi Shaw. So everyone's wants me to ask how difficult or easy it is to manage a player like Prithvi Shaw.
Um, I think Prithvi, we signed Prithvi when he had just turned 18 actually. And even before he was selected for the under 19 team as the captain and everything, before he went for the under 19 World Cup. So our association with Prithvi goes back a little more than 3 years. So we've seen a lot of highs with him, and we've also seen a bit of lows as well. But then that's the journey of a sports person. And we sincerely believe in the cricketer Prithvi. We sincerely believe in the person Prithvi. And we are going to be there with him for as long as possible, because it's currently he's just going through a bad patch, and if I can say uh, very honestly, and bad patch is just well, yes, a lot of people might question what I'm going to say. Is one test match he's had a bad run, uh, but and leaving aside the IPL again is a hit and miss game. Anything can happen with anyone. So not getting into that. But if you see before this test match, the first test match, he had actually scored a 50. In terms of his performance, it has been exemplary. And any sports person can go through a bad patch or a lean patch. And sometimes, and I was talking to a lot of fellow cricketers, both past and a couple of active ones as well, and all of them said that every sports person and every cricketer goes through these periods. Sometimes it is a blessing in disguise that it happens early in their career. So, yes, I'm also a big fan of Prithvi, and I'm sure it's just a matter of time when he'll come with all guns blazing.
I'm sure. I mean, yes, everybody has their slump. You're good one day, and the next day you might not perform as well, but doesn't matter as long as he's a prodigy. You've always heard about so much about him, positive things. Also, Tuhin, there are a lot of international sports management companies as well looking at Indian players now. All of a sudden, this interest, in the Indian market, Indian sports market has shot up. So, are you interacting with any such, organizations abroad, or you're speaking with players where there's a lot of interest, not just from management companies, but also from clubs or organizations, which are globally
Yeah.
present?
So we work very closely with a lot of global sports federations, be it ATP. We worked with FIFA also in the past, and again with ATP, we work basically tennis. So we work with ATP, we work with French Open, Austrian Open, a lot of NBA clubs as well. A lot of stuff that we've done, sponsorship deals that we have done for them with Indian clients, and that is always a focus for us as well. And again, this is something, as you rightly said. Yes, India is a now opening up to be a big market. A lot of clubs also look at Indian clients who are looking at more of a global outreach kind of a program that they have or they might have. and we've actually acted as a conduit as well in terms of making two a sponsor from India and a federation from outside meet and facilitate a deal as well. So we've been involved in several such stuff.
So, any expansion plans for Baseline Ventures? You're planning to go global, have offices everywhere, or any other vertical you're looking at to enter in the Indian market or anywhere?
So as a company, as Baseline, we do have an office in Delhi, Bombay, and Bangalore. We also have an office in Singapore, and we have an investors who are based out of LA. So across these offices, we do kind of manage a lot of clients or work which are global as well. Uh, yes, as they say in life, never say never. So we don't know. So if things kind of pan out to be conducive, we are always open to such opportunities.
Also, Tuhin, you earlier mentioned about, you have, of course, great roster of athletes. How do you pin down on what athlete, you want to take in your family, in the Baseline family? So, what is the process?
So
I mean, do you scout or,
yes,
performance wise or
no. Sometimes it's scouting. Sometimes it's gut. Sometimes it's people who are kind enough to refer some people. So we've had athletes whom we've taken on board through various forms. So I will not say there's a one fixed rule that we've followed. Um, but yes, as I said in the beginning of our discussion, we are very clear that we don't want to just focus on one single sport, which is cricket. Yes, we do take pride in the boys and girls whom we manage in cricket, but there's a lot of pride which is there for the other sports people whom we manage. So be it a Pankaj Advani whom we manage for billiards and snooker, obviously he's a world champion, or be it a Sardar Singh. So when we signed up Sardar Singh, he was still playing for India, and it was just I would say again fate or destiny that he kind of quit 2 months or 3 months post signing with us, post the Asian Games. But then again, we've managed our relationship with him, and we've done several sponsorship deals for him. Uh, we are currently, also managing two current hockey players as well of the Indian hockey team, which is Akashdeep and Ramandeep as well. So again, we do believe in various sports people, and again various sports athletes. Yes, at the end of the day, we do look for an X factor. How we feel that they can be marketed, and again that comes with a certain amount of experience, certain amount of sales experience as well. That yes, can I go and market this athlete or not? That's irrespective of the sport that the athlete is playing. Then at what level? Okay, is there a potential for the athlete to become a world beater? So, like when we signed up Sindhu, she was only PV Sindhu, not the Olympic champion or a world champion or even a Kidambi Shrikant. So we actually, in a way, took a punt on those sports people. So sometimes you need to, also go with a certain amount of gut feel, and these are things which I personally feel can't be bought off the shelf. It does come with experience, and obviously a lot of sometimes I would say good wishes of people as well and blessings. So that's
definitely
what
do it?
that's what I would say is the formula to kind of choose people.
But I must, compliment you because you have picked up really, really good players. Because I remember, like, for example, if I take Kedambi, he was one of the most upcoming players, and everybody, was praising him in the circuit. And that time, he hadn't won a lot of medals and everything, but his personality, his game, everything was spoken about, positively. Everybody was, praising him. So you do pick up amazing athletes. Everybody in your roster is amazing. So apart from that, do you also work with the state governments, baseline ventures, as in on different, maybe like grassroots projects or any other deal
Um,
or
Till now, we haven't worked with state governments as such, but that is something which is definitely we would love to do. We are looking for an opportunity where we can work with state governments and at a grassroots level. So, if there is something which is there, please do bring it to our notice. We would love to jump at that opportunity because we sincerely feel that the sports in our country has to kind of develop from a grassroots level. And again, this is a cliche that I might be saying, but it is a fact. And a lot of money needs to go into that at a grassroots level. So whether it is from a sponsorship point of view, or with your typical corporate sponsorship, or from a CSR initiative point of view, it needs to go into grassroots level and across sports, because a lot of these sports are languishing because of lack of money or sponsorship. So if we can direct or channel those funds in the right manner to those initiatives, and I'm sure state governments can play a huge part in that.
Of course, of course. Thank you so much, Tuhin, for taking our time to be with us. And I had a lot of great insights from you. And I hope everybody, who's watching this enjoyed it. I'm sure they did, because the kind of insights you've given us today, especially the formulas, for bringing in all the amazing players. I think that's really good, and I really hope that sports starts again when we restart this coming year. There's more positivity. There is more. I hope with the vaccine in sight, we might have fans in the stadium as well. So let's hope for that. And thank you, Tuhin, and thank you everybody for watching.
Thanks a lot, Taruka, and thanks a lot to Sports Kira as well. They've been doing an amazing job since they've started. So obviously, I follow and read whatever they write, and they have a good, I would say, roster of people who work for them. And again, they play a very active role, because we need more of such people to be doing stuff in the field of sports, because we all are, in a way, working towards making this pie bigger. And pie in the sense, not just from a commercial point of view, but the basic ecosystem around sports. And I think everyone, whether it's you, Taruka, or the people at Sports Kira as well, and other such platforms, which are kind of, I would say, relentlessly working towards making sports much more, I would say, a normal way of living in our life, or I would say making a part of our lifestyle. So, which is a order of the way. So, thank you so much, too.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for your kind words, Tuhin. Thank you.
Thank you.